So this is project 2. This is the skill set we're looking for. Today we're going to do the last component, which is adding a duck hat. And the duck hat is going to be modeled from a cube. We're going to use the mirror modifier, we're going to extrude, and we're going to do the loop cut. These are 3 really important skills. If we get these, we'll be able to do all kinds of things in Blender. Okay, today we're going to make a duck hat out of a cube, and we're going to put this on our snowman in the snowman project 2. In order to do this, I'm going to need some geometry to work with. If I hit tab and go into edit mode, I'll notice the cube only has 8 vertices, 1 at each corner. And so I'm going to need some more geometry in order to manipulate this. If I hit A and select everything at once, or A for all, and then hit W, I can subdivide this, and I can bump the number of cuts up to, I'm going to bump it up to 5, and that should give me enough geometry to work with. At this point, I'm going to get rid of half of my cube. Now, if I were to box select this guy as is, notice I'm only selecting some of the vertices, those that I can see. But if I hit the invisibility button, now I come down here, I'll hit A to deselect everything again, and now if I box select, I can get the entire half of a cube, delete those vertices, and now with half a cube, I'm able to add a mirror modifier. So the mirror modifier over here, I hit the wrench button in the properties, I add a mirror modifier right here, and this guy is being reflected over the y-axis or along the x-axis. So I only have the x here. Notice the green is going front to back, X is going side to side, and so I'm reflecting along the X-axis, not along the Y. I also want to go ahead and check this clipping, because right now, if I were to move a vertex on one side, it is being mirrored, and that works great. But if I were to take something in the middle and move it over, notice that this guy splits in the middle. And so by adding clipping, now if I were to grab that, he's not going to split apart. It's all clipped together. Now, if I simply want to move a single vertex, I'm all set up to do that. But if I want to move bunches at a time, it'll save me time. So I'm going to come down here to proportional editing and enable that. Now the button is blue, and so when I grab, and for instance on the y-axis, everything within the circle there moves in proportion to the vertex that I've chosen. If I move the mouse button up, I can see that I can grab larger numbers of vertices, or larger numbers of vertices will be influenced. I'm going to go ahead and grab on the z-axis and move this up. I'm going to grab this on the x-axis and move it over this way, and I'll simply grab this again. I think I'll leave the bottom flat, and down here I will grab this on the y-axis and move them back this way. So I'm getting a different kind of a shape here, and I will choose all. And over here in Tools, I went from Create to Tools, and I'm going to go over here to Smooth Vertices. And if I click this button a number of times, my shape is going to become more like the shape of a hat, or in this case, a duck's head. I think I'll make it a little bit higher up on top. And now I'm ready to make the bill. We are going to use Extrude. These buttons allow me to select different kinds of objects. Here I have vertices, lines, or planes, and when I'm extruding, I often want to choose planes, and I'm going to choose those 6 planes right there, and I'm going to extrude out along the y-axis. So I hit E. At this point, I think I will make the duck bill separate from the rest of the hat, and to do that I'm going to say Shift D to duplicate. I'll go ahead and grab that on the y-axis so it moves out a little bit, grab on the y, and at this point I can extrude this guy out, so I'll say extrude on the y-axis, and now the duck bill is going to be just separate from it, the rest of the hat that is. So here we go. I will scale this on the z-axis a little bit, maybe grab it and move it out a little bit more. I'm going to make some loop cuts in here now. I need some more geometry to shape this, excuse me, and so I'll say Control R. Roll the mouse wheel up, maybe it'll do 3 cuts. If I hit the left mouse button once, they turn orange, and I can slide them to where I want, and then I hit the left mouse button again, and they're set in place. At this point, this guy begins to have just the right geometry that I want to be able to shape him however I choose. So for instance, if I come in and I choose my vertex select, I will choose those. I'll turn off invisibility. I'm going to choose just these vertices on this edge, and I can begin to lower those. I simply grab them on the z-axis and lower them down. I can even rotate them if I want on the x-axis. so they're kind of more level. Lower that guy down again. The same thing for these guys in the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and raise that up a bit so my bill is a little bit thinner. These guys in front look like they got pulled back, so I want the front edge to be maybe a little bit more even, and I will take this and lower it down. Now, in the middle, over here, I want these guys to come up. I think I'll turn proportional editing back on at this point, so it'll kind of come up together with the others. If I grab on the Z and raise that up, that's looking pretty good. Now, I think we're going to go ahead and try and smooth this out just a bit. So again, if I turn on invisibility, select A to deselect everything, and I'm going to select, using circle select this time, just those vertices up to but not including the band or that last edge. And now I'll come back over here, escape to come out of that, and go to smooth vertices again. So now this is beginning to look a little bit more like a duck bill. Another thing that I'm going to want on this bill is I want to have a little raised bit over here along the edge where the bill meets the top of the hat to make it look more like a duck bill. So again, I'm going to make a loop cut. I do Control R and I make my loop cut right in here, and this is going to allow me to raise this up. So again, I'm going to use extrude. I'm going to come over here to my surface or my planes, and I'm going to select these planes along this line, and I just want those guys to be raised up, so I will extrude those. I just hit E and then left click immediately, and then I scale that up. Ooh, I should turn off my proportional editing. And now if I just raise that up here, and maybe I take these two guys and push them over this way, this is going to make a nice different shape. And so if I look at this in vertex, select the vertices, I can see that it's a little bit rough, but what I'm going to do to this whole thing is add a subsurf modifier, and it will begin to round things off a bit. And so I can see that my bill is beginning to look like a duck bill. Now I can change that however I want. For instance, if I were to come in here and add another loop cut inside here, it's going to take that edge and make it a little bit more square. At this point, if I were to tab out and look at this, this is beginning to look a little bit like a duck. Okay, now coming to the bottom, I'm going to raise these guys up. To do that, I'll select my plane again, and I think I can do this by extruding it, or I might be able to just pull it up, and let's see if that works. Okay. So it's coming up a little bit. Again, it's getting like the top of a baseball hat kind of effect. If I pull it up too much, it comes right through the top. So I want to be careful not to come up too much. I might even want to reflect that or rotate that a little bit on the x-axis, so it comes up this way, and I bring it up, and I can even rotate it a little bit on the y-axis, rotate y, bring it up this way, and now as it comes up, I just want to make sure that I don't come through like I am right there, so I'll bring it back down. So now this guy has a kind of a different shape. It's beginning to look a little bit more like a duck bill. If I don't like the way this is rounded off, I can grab some of these vertices in here, or some of these planes, and I can move those guys in. I can do this either by pushing them in this way, or I could even scale them down a little bit. And so that's a little bit more rounded, depending on how much you want to make it look like a duck bill. Also, I can choose these guys and begin to rotate them on the y-axis. Maybe pull them up a bit more, and so I can get whatever kind of shape I want. Now I'm still seeing a lot of faceted kind of geometry here, so I can bump up my loop cuts. I can also turn on smooth shading, and I can see that this guy is beginning to look a little bit more like a duck bill. These guys down here are probably a little bit too far down, so I will select those guys and bring them up. And I think I'm pretty happy with the way this is looking. Maybe this can come up a little bit more. And I think it's almost good to go. So now I've got a sort of a duck bill. If I want to make eyes in here, I'm going to use my extrude again. I'm going to choose some of these, and I will simply say extrude, E to extrude, left click immediately, S to scale that down, and now I can begin to push those guys in. Maybe I want to rotate this a little bit on the z-axis, and I'm ready to have my eyes pushed in. Notice everything I do on one side appears on the other. If this is looking a little bit too square, I can grab some of these vertices and I can begin to move them down. Take the square corners and begin to move them in. And maybe I want to make it look like the duck's a little bit mad, so I can bring this down a little bit. And if I wanted to make eyebrows, I can do that as well. I come over here and I grab these three vertices, and again I'm using extrude, E to extrude, and then I hit left mouse button immediately, and I can begin to grab those guys, and I've made a whole new set of planes, excuse me. I'm going to scale this down. I can move these guys around however I want, and it will begin to look like the duck has a little bit of a brow and is looking a little bit angry. Maybe I'll scale this guy down, and let's see what he looks like. So it's looking like he's got a duck bill and he's got some angry eyebrows. I'm going to make the inside of the hat now. If I select this, I think I'll use circle select again. I grab these planes, and I'm going to hit escape to come out of there. Again, extrude, E to extrude, left click, and then I'm going to grab this and move it on the z-axis, and it's going to come right up. Again, if I go too far, it goes through the hat, so I'll bring it up a ways, and then I'll scale that down so that he's sitting up nice and even. Now this hat is looking pretty good. I'm just going to add some eyes, but I'm going to build my eyes separately. So I'll tab back over here. I'm going to actually, if I select this and hit Control L, I have just this guy selected. I can move him back into place and maybe move him down, and so my duck bill is pretty good to go. I'm going to go ahead and save this. I use N to come into my N panel, and with my N panel I'm going to go to Item. Let's see if I can find that. So I want to give this guy a name. So I come into Item, and instead of Cube, which is the default name, I'm going to call this guy Hat. And so if I save this file, save as, I will save this guy as Hat. He's in the same file as the rest of my project, and now I'm ready to append him on. So make sure I hit the save button, otherwise he won't save. I'm going to open up my other file, open my snowman, which is right here, and to get my hat in here, I think I'll select this. I'll say File, and I'll come to Append, and I'll choose my hat. I'll go to Object, and I'll choose my hat, and he's going to appear right in place. If I grab him on the z-axis, there is my duck hat. I'm going to scale him in and grab him down a little bit there, and he's looking pretty good. Scale him a little bit more, and now my snowman has a duck hat. And I can give these guys different kinds of textures because I have two groups of vertices, and I can select each one separately and give those guys different views.